Well, hello. Welcome to the live stream. Whether you're here live or you're watching the replay, which I know a lot of people do. Check a couple of things here. Hopefully everything is on and good. Anyway, how's it going today? So far, so good on this end. Let's talk about snowboarding. If you're new here, my name's Mike, and I typically ride at Kimberley Alpine Resort, just a little ways up the road here. And don't be shy, drop in the chat, let me know where you're from and where you're planning on riding. Let's go snowboarding this season. All right. So I want to open by talking about my little trip to Lake Louise last week. Yeah, that was about a week ago. Got out there for their opening weekend. Didn't quite hit opening day, but I got opening weekend. That was pretty good. They had 2 runs open, which I guess that early in the season, pretty good. And the snow was good on both runs, so can't complain. Oh, just a second here. And I see Steve in the chat. Hey, Steve, how's it going? Anyway, one thing I was reminded of when I was at Lake Louise there, because they only had the 1 run, there was people everywhere. Lots of rookies out there, which is weird for early season when the snow's possibly sketchy that total rookies would go out. But there was a lot of rookies out there. They're just doing random stuff all over the place, swerving all over the run. And I kept thinking to myself as I'm going down there, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. If you're not sure what that means, basically I try to visualize the run into 3 lanes, maybe 4 lanes if it's a wide run. And if you're going down, left, right, or center, stay left, right, or center. Don't be doing random stuff and shooting into the left as someone's going by you. It's nuts. Rookies do it all the time. Rookies get creamed. So anyway, hopefully that was none of you. And Steve says it finally got snow at Mammoth. Opening day moved back to Thursday. That would be this Thursday, I presume. So it's at 2 days from now. Right on. Are you heading up there for opening weekend? Opening weekend's always fun. Stretch the legs, work out the muscles, be super tired when you get home. And yeah, you are there right now. Right on. That's awesome. My local hills here, Kimberley and Fernie, just a little ways down the road. Still a few weeks before they open up. I think Kimberley's aiming for December 12. And Fernie is typically 1 week before that. So that would be December 5. So we'll see. I will do my best to be out to both of those for opening weekend. See how it goes. And here in Cranbrook, which is nowhere near the elevation of the hills, we got no snow. We see some fluff in the air every once in a while, but there's no snow anywhere. So hopefully it's good up on the hills, and hopefully they're starting to get some snow. I think they've at least got the temperatures to start firing up the snowmaking. Which is good. I think they need -5 to do that. So they should have had lots of -5 recently. So hopefully they're blowing snow everywhere. And one thing with Kimberley is they need to blow a lot of snow and get some snow because it's very rocky in there. Used to be some mining operation, something on at least parts of that mountain. Very rocky and crazy, so they need a good base to open things up. And I see Lee is here checking in. Nice to see you, Lee. How are you feeling today? Anyway, one other thing I did just the other day, and I know both of you, Lee and Steve, have both seen it because you both made a comment. I put out my little note for what I'm calling Old and Bored, which is basically just a casual meetup, get some people on the slopes, hang out, do some laps, take some breaks in the lodge. Maybe we'll take more breaks than we'll do laps. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if people are interested in doing that. I remember, Steve, you said you would be coming up from California, which would be a big old trek. So yeah, I would expect basically, unless someone's local, they're probably not going to make a big long trip for that. And let's see, Lee is sore but rough and happy to be here. Well, it's no good on the sore and rough, but glad you're here as well. And I'll finish my thought. I mentioned it in the comment to you the other day, but it was your trip out here last year that actually made me convinced to do this. I was thinking about that last year, and I kept thinking, I'll just wait till I have bigger audience, bigger crowd. No one's going to come anyway. And then you made the trip out and spent the day, which was super fun. And literally on my drive home from that, I thought, I'm going to do that next year. I didn't have the name figured out, didn't have the details sorted out, but I kind of thought, it's a go. We can make this happen, even if pretty much nobody shows up. We can make it happen. And I see Igor Sermanev is here. A skier from Russia. Well, skiers are welcome here. I know the channel is a snowboarding channel, but hey, skiing, snowboarding, it's essentially the same, right? We're out on the slopes, we're enjoying it, we're having fun. Especially if we're getting a little bit older, like this guy is. We're getting out and having fun. And Igor's asking if I know anything about the Russian mountains, and I know zero about the Russian mountains. I know very little about the European mountains, other than at some point I'd like to go. But mostly I'm familiar with mountains over here in Western Canada. I've never really traveled outside of my little area to go snowboarding over the years. So I know of the bigger names in North America, but I've only ever been kicking around my little part of Western Canada here. And yeah, Lee, you like the name. I love it. Yeah, I threw out a bunch of different names. I hashed it around for quite a while, and I just thought Old and Bored, kind of funny, tongue-in-cheek. And if we are old and bored, let's get out and snowboard, right? That's kind of where I went with that. So, and Steve would invite me down to the U.S., but the U.S. has gone stupid. Well, there's certainly a reputation going around right now. But yeah, I haven't been down in the States for a while. Probably won't for a while. But yeah, if I'm ever in that part of the world at the right time of year, I would definitely like to check out some of the resorts over there. And Luke DeSaulniers, I'm sure I said that wrong. Waiting for snow here at Sun Peaks. Not enough for opening weekend. Were you supposed to have opening weekend this weekend? I know I looked over a lot of opening weekends and I forgot most of them, but Sun Peaks is pretty high up there and a little towards the north side of central BC. So, and on that related note, do any of you watch the snowboard channel called Just a Ride? Awesome channel. Check it out. A guy named Lars, he geeks out on snowboard stuff all the time. He's actually from Fernie, which is just down the road here. He just released a video a couple days ago. He filmed the whole thing over in Sun Peaks last year, and that's just a little carving film that he does. He's all about the carving and railing those turns, no sliding. Anyway, it's a good little film, good channel. Just definitely go check out his channel if you haven't seen it. It's good stuff. And Igor says Canada has some good free ride terrain. Yeah, we definitely have a lot to choose from depending on where you are, especially out west. One thing I like about Kimberley, where I ride a lot, is they have lots of semi-cleared gladed tree areas, which is nice. It's always nice just swerving between the trees without being just socked in like that all the time. Kimberley might have a bit of a reputation for not being a difficult hill. It's probably fair. It's definitely more of an intermediate hill. It's not way high up. It's not up above the tree line and slopes that come down like this. So, but there's lots of good terrain, and I love that gladed trees just swooping around. You know, just getting in a rhythm, getting in the turns. That's what I like to do. And you didn't know just right from Fern Dog. Yeah, Fern Dog. Yeah, if you've seen the channel, it's good stuff. And yeah, he's a Ferny guy. He rides at the Ferny Hill all the time. Yeah, great channel, and especially if you like to geek out on snowboards and carving and all that stuff. It's a great channel. Yeah, check it out. On that note, what's everyone else's favorite riding? Like freestyle and going in the park, jumping and spinning, cruising groomers, hitting the trees, the steeps and the deeps. And Lee has heard of the channel. Yeah, you check it out. Next time it comes through your feed, check it out. It's good. It's good stuff. Mount Snow. Mount Snow. Is that the name of a resort? I'm not familiar with that one. If it is a resort, where is it? And Steve is all about the carving. I think that's where I'm leaning a little bit too. I'm not into the jumping and spinning and all that craziness. I've never was. Even way back on my best days, that was never my thing. Jump in the air, go straight, do the grab, little things like that. Spinning around, doing all that was never a thing. And in those days, even the snowboard parks weren't a thing. Just didn't exist in the early to mid 90s, and half pipes were small, and they were kind of fun, but they were small compared to nothing like they are nowadays. And I've been leaning towards carving. I spent a little bit of time last year just trying to dial in my carves and not be so slippy slidey on all my turns and everything else. And got a long ways to go, but that's kind of what I started dabbling more last year. And I think I'm going to spend some time this year as well, trying to dial in the carves. And Lee likes the bigger stuff like Kicking Horse. I've never been a Kicking Horse, but it's always been on my radar ever since they rebranded to Kicking Horse there a while back, a long while back, from whatever it used to be called, but I've never actually been out there. But yeah, I've heard they got good snow. I've seen lots of photos and footage from up there. It looks like a really good place, and they got the elevation because it's way up. You can see it from the highway. Always when I drive by on the highway, I'm always looking up to the left and thinking, man, one day I got to get out there. And then I just never do. White Tooth, that's what it used to be called, White Tooth. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just fiddling around with my interface here. I'm kind of still learning this live stream stuff, and I'm just using the really basic live stream from YouTube, so I don't have a lot of fancy features here. I started trying to get some better software so I could throw questions up on the screen. Not way up there, way down here somewhere. Yeah, down here, across the bottom. and I tried one bit of software, OBS. And I tried to do the install and the setup, and it just didn't work. Couldn't get it going, and I didn't have time, and I gave up. So I'm looking around at some other stuff, trying to liven these things up. But hey, just live stream and live chat, right? That's all you really need. And Luke asks, what snacks do I pack on the hill? And you and the kids fill your pockets with dried mango. Dried mango would be good. Yeah, I have some upstairs. Don't usually take snacks in the pockets, but I do take a lot of breaks at the bottom, and generally I can get the car parked pretty close to the base area, Kimberley there. So I'll stop and take a break and head over to the car. For my main bit of food, I eat a lot of chicken salad. I said that lots last year. Every time I stopped at lunch, I said chicken salad, and I told myself I was going to stop saying that. And yeah, that's usually all I do. I dice up some chicken, put a little shot of mayo or a little sort of barbecue sauce or mustard or something on there, shake it up and dice up some veg and things like that. Usually do it the night before, so make up stuff that can sit overnight, and then that's my main thing. And then what else do I take? Sometimes a protein bar. Depends what else I got going on. I'll just grab something from the house. And then waters and Gatorade is what I drink. But I don't usually pack up the pockets and go on the hill. But I'm also not moving around with kids that would be impatient. So I'm willing to wander back to the vehicle anytime I need to. And Lee says, a lot of people think kicking a horse is big, gnarly, and scary. But there are different types of terrain and spots for everybody. Yeah, it looks good. It looks wide and spread out. I think some people think it's like that because it's just up above the tree line, and probably when you see videos, you see the guys who just get up in the gnarly stuff and just fully send it. That's kind of what you see. You don't see, your average guy just cruising around the mountain. So, and you love showing around and surprising them. Yeah, you know what? I think every resort, when you know it, it's going to have, greens, blues, and blacks everywhere. Once you know where to go and how to get there and everything, I think you can always find your favorites, right? So that comes with local knowledge. So yeah, show people around, show them their favorite without giving away the super secret stash. You got to keep something in your back pocket. And Lee likes to take gummy bears and a protein bar. Oh, they're good. Yeah, they can sit in your pocket, and they're not going to melt out. You can't take a chocolate bar. Not that I would want a chocolate bar in the middle of the day anyway, but one thing I find with the protein bars, actually, even when I take them, I leave them in the vehicle, but I take them out of my lunch bag and I set them up on the dash, because if they sit in the lunch bag with the ice pack, they're just so solid that they're tough to eat. At least the ones I have, solid, they're tough to eat. So I leave them up on the dash where they can stay a little bit on the softer side. So that's how I get through a protein bar. And if they're too frozen, I just don't fight it. But I'm trying to think of what else I would take. I usually have fruit and stuff kicking around the house, peanuts, things like that. So I'll probably usually put a little baggie of that type of stuff in there too. Just enough to keep the energy going, right? Load up in the morning, have a bit of an energy lull partway through the day. You just got to jack yourself up, give yourself the energy, keep going, right? I also sometimes keep those little $5 5-hour energy shots kicking around my bag. Where'd my bag go? Yeah, in my backpack there. So if I'm really, really down and out, I'll pop one of those. But try to avoid those too. I like to rely on those. Yeah, dried fruit, great idea. Yeah, it's another dried fruit. Leave it in your pocket. Doesn't melt. Doesn't go crazy. Easy to split with the family and the group. So since we've got a lot of opening days and opening weekends coming up at our local hills, I'll ask everyone here if you got a great opening day memory, something that always gets you jazzed up and ready to go for a good season. Oh, excuse me. I remember one time it was at Kimberley. It's a long time ago, back in the olden days. The whole base area was 100 feet up the hill from where the base area is now. The big quad chair wasn't there, all this stuff. And they had a double chair up the front of the mountain, and you went cruise to the back, and they had a triple chair, which is still there. And I remember one day we went up there early for opening day, and we got a big dump of snow overnight. It was good. And I don't know what we were at on the double chair. 5th, 6th chair, 7th chair, something like that. We weren't quite near the front. We were pretty close to the front. We decided on the way up, we were going to go to the back. Just figured it's going to be busy. We're going to the back. So we get up, we drop off the double chair. Everybody in front of us was turning around and going back to the front. Literally everybody. The three of us looked at each other and thought, this will be great. And we went down. If you're familiar with Kimberley, they call it the North Bowl. It's just a big run. It's not a bowl, just a big run. Goes down the backside to the chair. We went tearing down there, and we got onto the Easter chair. And we were first or second on the Easter chair, other than ski patrollers and mountain guys like that got on earlier. We were right at the front and looking down the Easter run. It's just a steep, gnarly. They don't put a groomer on it the whole year. It just turns into the steep, crazy mogul field. Good if you're into it. Crazy if you're not. Anyway, we're looking at, I think there was like 2 or 3 tracks down there, just your ski patrollers running down there. So all 3 of us looked down. We're doing that. We trucked down there. Just great. Great turns. Big, thick powder. No tracks. It was good. We jumped right back on the Easter chair because the Easter run was right under the Easter chair. So we literally just got up and ran it. I think we ran it 3 or 4 times. Just kept doing it because nobody was on there, and it started getting tracked out. And we decided we just needed to go a little farther out on the hill, get some new runs. But it's one of my great opening day memories. Just getting on that Easter, smooth as silk, nice powder. And then from there on, it's just the moguls just built every day all year. Moguls. And the Lee has an opening day in Revy, 2011-ish. So that qualifies as olden days. It was a while back. Waist to chest deep pow. Oh. Top opening day and in your top 10 or 15 days of all time. It was movie snow. Well, the snow does like to puke in Revelstoke. I've heard the phrase, it's puke in Revelstoke style, a bunch of times over the years, and man, does it snow thick and heavy. I haven't spent much time in that general area, but I have been over in that part of the what would that be? The Shuswap? Would Revelstoke must be part of the Shuswap. And a few times in the winter over the years, and holy cow, when it snows, you get flakes the size of quarters, and they just stack up. And holy cow! Never been to that ski resort though. I think it would be cool. That's another one. Actually, it's got the reputation of steep and gnarly, but also great snow. So yeah, I'd like to go there at some point too. That would be a little bit of a weekend trip, and maybe don't really travel too much anymore, but maybe. Trying to think about a lot of my other opening days. A lot of them kind of just blend together. It's just the excitement of getting out. Getting out, enjoying it, stretching the legs, blowing the dust off the old boards. That's actually why I decided to pop over to Lake Louise there last week. I thought, you know what? I'm not doing nothing. They were opening up. Well, they were going to open on the Friday, and they pulled it ahead and opened up on the Tuesday. So I snuck out there on the Friday and thought I'll get an early opening day, stretch the legs. Wasn't too sure what the snow was going to be like. They did get snow in a few days before I got there. And actually, on my last live stream, you'll remember I put the bindings on the floater because that is my rock board. Put the bindings on the floater. I didn't know what it was going to be like, and I had the cadet all waxed up and edges sharpened and ready to go. And when the day opened there at Lake Louise, they had the little what's it called, the juniper quad. So right at the base area, it's off to the left, and they had one run, snakes down to the base, and everybody was in there. Anyway, I took one run on the floater, and the snow was fabulous. There, not a rock in sight, nothing. It was good. So when I got to the base, I literally got out of the bindings, walked right back to the truck out in the parking lot, swapped the bindings onto the cadet, and took that 10 or 15 minute, there and back, and spent the rest of the day on the cadet. The snow was that good. I didn't see a rock all day. Wasn't concerned about it at all. So. But when Kimberley opens up, I'll be back on the floater because Kimberley's always rocky at the beginning. There's just too many big rocks. It's I don't think I've ever been there. Almost never when it's not rocky, especially at the bottom of the front side. So I'm not too sure about Fernie. We'll probably try to hit Fernie the weekend before. And unless I can get some really good confirmation that there's no rocks at the bottom, I'll probably have the floater geared up for that. Take at least one lap on the floater, see how it works, and then pull out the cadet after that. Don't want to ruin the new board. Well, it's a year old, but don't want to ruin the new board just because I don't feel like doing a binding swap. Raining here in YYC. Well, I'll say Calgary. I happen to know that's Calgary. Anyone can look that up. So, and in the Rockies, they're probably getting snow. Yeah, it's raining here too. It's been raining all day. Well, off and on all day. It rained overnight. I saw a little bit of almost snow, that pellety snow that looks like styrofoam almost, for a couple minutes, and then it stopped, and it was the cloud went by, the sun came out, it was gone. We haven't had actual snow lay on the ground here yet. Just lots of rain. I think when I looked at the weather report yesterday or the day before, I think we got snow coming here in a little over a week. But I'm with you. I think the mountains are getting snow, and I'm hoping Kimberley and Fernie are getting lots of snow right now. Because I don't really care if it's down here, and I'm not looking forward to shoveling it. But it comes with the territory of being in Canada, I suppose. But I would love for the hills just to get loaded up. I haven't checked any snow reports. Let's see. Maybe I'll fire up one and see what the local hills are doing. Probably going to be a little chug on my laptop. It tends to get anxious and really starts to rev up when I'm doing these anything long with the cameras on. Let's see. Kimberley snow report. All they're doing them, they have had 2 centimeters in the last 24 hours. So yeah, the rain that we got overnight was snow up at the hill. They have a 10 centimeter base. You know, part of the mountain that's at, but hey, I'll take it. 10 centimeters all day long. Let's see what Fernie's up to. I've seen a few pics from Fernie in the social medias, and they've been throwing out pictures of their little snow measurement gauge thing. So I know they had snow. Let's see what's going on. And my computer has fired up. The fans are going. I don't know if the mic's picking up. Hopefully it's not. Fernie snow report. Here we go. They did not get anything in the last 24 hours. But they have a 20 centimeter base already. And yeah, they got a webcam on their little Grizz guy with a depth gauge. So they're getting some snow at Fernie there. That's good. And then since I was just there, I'm going to check Lake Louise and see what that's looking like. Oh, they've opened up another chair. Summit chair. I don't know which ones are which, but they are up to 16 runs open now. Right on. They got some of the food stuff opening up. Where is the snow report? Nothing overnight, but they have a 55 centimeter base at the top, 46 mid. And you know what? The snow was good when I was there. The stuff they had open had good snow. So that's pretty good stuff. All right, get back to the chat, see what's going on here. And Lee says the little hard snow pellets is called Gropple. I'm sure I said that wrong every way. Kicking Horse gets it lots when it's windy. And you say it's groppling sideways. Yeah, that stuff's kind of weird too. And if it's windy, it just blows away and piles in the corner because it doesn't stick to nothing. It just falls into the banks and everything else. So we get it here once in a while. Not very often that I recall, but yeah, once in a while. I'm seeing we got 5 people in here right now. The chat's gone kind of quiet, guys. Come on, drop in the chat. Let me know where you are, if you want to give away where you are, or where you're going to ride this season, or where you even like to ride. If you don't want to give away where you are, where you'd like to go riding this season. If you missed my spiel at the beginning, or if you're not familiar with my videos, I'm in BC, right near the Alberta border there, and I typically ride at Kimberley Alpine Resort. And I sometimes travel around a little bit in the localish areas, but Kimberley is my home resort. And we got 3 or 4 more weeks until they open up anyway. And Lee's asking, who's got a favorite snowboard movie, and do we like watching snowboard movies? Man, I used to watch a lot back in the day. I couldn't tell you the names of any of them, but I do remember watching a bunch of them when I was younger. Don't watch them so much anymore, but spend a lot of time watching snowboarding guys on YouTube and clips and 10-minute bursts. So I don't watch movies so much, but I'm watching videos all the time. And MC Boogs. I love that name. MC Boogs. What's my riding style these days? At 55, he's just chasing his 12-year-old son around the groomers. No park, just small jumps. You know what? Sounds a lot like what I'm probably doing. I've never been a park guy. And I know I've said it before, but when I was younger, parks didn't even exist when I first started. It was nothing but side hits, and you'd have to find a tree falling down in the bushes somewhere and make a rail on it, things like that. One year in Kimberley, I remember they stuffed like an old Volkswagen van, Westphalia type thing, smack in the middle of a run, or at least the top part of one anyway, blew snow all over it, and they left the roof open. So the rain gutters and the roof was essentially a bit of a rail and a stump. I remember they did that one year at least, maybe twice, but I remember being up there once, a long time ago, back when Kimberley was still an independent hill and before they got in part of the whole RCR group and stuff. And I'm sure insurance told them to get that out of there too. But back then, people just did what they did, right? That's just the way it was. So, yeah, I remember that. But yeah, side hits. I don't jump a lot. I'll take small jumps here and there, side hits, popping around the edges, coming out of the trees. I always like some runs that have some rollers and some pitch changes and things like that. So if there's a push pile near the top of a roll, I'll pop off the roll and stuff. But I'm not going for big airs and stuff like that. I'm not doing it. And I'm 53 this year, so I'm kind of right there with you. Big jumps, big spins, not really my thing. Not chasing kids around, but that's kind of what I'm doing. And Luke says, always watching for the big revy dumps. That is a proper mountain. You're always watching for it. Does that mean you're in the area? Is that a place you ride? Even sometimes, even if it's not your home place. But it does look pretty good. I haven't seen a lot of guys making videos there, but there is one guy. He does a lot of carving videos. And he's always geeking out about carving and holding an edge and stance and angles and all of that stuff. And I've watched a whole bunch of his videos. And he does like to do all those, carves on the steeps, which is always tough because the second you turn, you just take off. But he likes to take videos and doing the carving, and he does a carve and does the full turn when he can get enough momentum and edge force to crank that. So he's got some interesting videos. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. And MC Boogs says, I also want a new board this year. Thinking about the Shadow Band or the Cadet. You need to hit up your local demo days. And you're in Washington State. Oh, Washington State. Hopefully it's better than a Washington State. And Stevens Pass. Yeah, so Washington State, you're going to have pretty much the same environment we have here in BC, right? And you're only a few hours away from someplace. I can't remember exactly where Stevens Pass is, but yeah, you're going to have the same basic terrain, snowfall, weather, essentially the same as we have here. So, yeah, I don't know much about the Shadow Band. I love that Cadet. I tried it at a demo day 2 years ago now. I tried a bunch of boards, and this one just really stuck out to me. Excuse me. There's a few good ones that I tried. Pretty much the only thing I had in my mind was I was not going to buy another Burton because I already had the two Burtons back here. I think I got to get something else. The Cadet, I really liked it. It just suited me. So, but yeah, I would think demos are the way to go too because I've demoed a bunch of boards now. We have our local demo day. It tends to be later in the year, so it doesn't do you much good in the fall. But I've been on a couple boards that I thought would be really good, and I was like, not so much. And I had a few that surprised me, like the cadet. If I'd have walked in the shop and just poked around, I don't think that would have jumped out at me. I don't think I would have spent the money on it, just because it wasn't didn't have the reputation. People aren't talking about them online. They're starting to show up more. The guys are doing reviews and demos, and you can see guys talking about them. But I bought this in the spring, 2 springs ago, and it was basically not known. So yeah, the demos are the way to go if you can try something out. And Lisa's getting Revel stuck is fun. Yeah. So much snow, the highways are closed. Yeah, get all the way out there, and if you'll be damned. You want to come back home and go to work on Monday morning, but if they close the road, you just have to stay. You have to stretch the weekend. And Luke says +1 to the cadet. Yeah, it's good. I mean, try the cadet. You never know. It's you might hate it. I love it. It works for me. And Stevens Pass and Baker are both amazing. Yeah, I've heard of Baker. That's like right out at the coast, I believe. Stevens Pass is kind of near Leavenworth. I have to say, I don't even know where that is. But you know what? I have my phone here, and I know of a good website that lets me look these things up. So I'm just going to look it up right here. Stevens Pass, Washington. Zoom out a bit. Okay, yeah, so you're just basically west of Seattle there. Okay. Yeah, I don't usually get that far over into Washington when I'm down there. We'll get in. Actually, probably mostly, I when I'm in Washington, mostly I go as far as Spokane, which is barely over the border from Idaho there. And we used to do that, jumping on planes rather than dealing with customs at airports and all other stuff and the expense. We'd drive to Spokane, jump on an airplane and go. And then when my son played sports, we would go down there for hockey. Once every single year we went down there, at least once, sometimes twice. Don't think we ever went down there for soccer, but definitely were there for hockey a bunch. Where am I? And Lee is asking, what is a cadet based on again? Yeah, so they built the basic shape of the cadet on the old Craig Kelly Airs back in the day. So similar-ish to this, and but more like the Craig Kelly Airs. And I know I told the story in the video, the demo day there. It's funny, I walked up and just, hey, let me, just checking things out. And some of the other tents were all busy, and there was his wasn't. So I walked up, and literally the first thing he said to me is, hey, look, this thing's built on the old Craig Kelly Airs, Burtons from the 90s. And maybe it's had that vibe, old graybeard guy, and he just thought, it's an old guy, he must know about that stuff. I think the biggest difference between this and the Craig Kelly Airs back in the day is the tail. This is still fairly, I'm not going to get there in the camera. This is still fairly squared off, and Kelly's tended to come in tighter, so there's a little less tail, and I think they would just dip a little bit more. And that's one thing you notice with the cadet, is it does come over, whereas my Burton Air, it tends to come out and then cut at the end. So, but then they kind of built the basic shape after those old Craig Kelly Airs, and then it's just modern everything. Got carbon strips in it. It's got a little bit of well, it's full of rocker. If it goes flat up here, it's not camber all the way like the old stuff was just camber right front to back, nothing but camber. These things hit, it kind of mellows out there a little bit. Yeah, it's based off the old Burton. So, and in some of my old videos, I would even crack jokes about how I'm getting away from the old stuff and leaving the old stuff. But I went and bought a board that's designed after the old stuff. So it's kind of funny, but it works for me. And you know what? Maybe that's why I like it. Maybe that's why it's so comfortable for me, because it's close enough to these old things that I just felt really comfortable on it. Lee has spent a lot of time in both Leavenworth. Luke says, yeah, camber dominant, bit of rocker in the nose. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And you also say that all the United shapes are killer. But yeah, you're right. It's not camber all the way. Somewhere around here, I have to put it on a flat table, but somewhere around here the camber stops. And you can see through that white coat. I don't know if the camera ever picks it up, but you can see that carbon X helps pressure everything out to the points. And I tried the United Shapes transmission last year on one of the demo days, which is their carving specialty board. And that was really good, although it was too small for me. It was 154, 155, something like that. And it just felt a little too small, but handled really well, carved really well. And yeah, I really like it. And I guess in relation to the Cadet, they've also got one called the Horizon. And I was just watching something just the other day that compared the two. And the Horizon is very similar to the Cadet. Probably leans a little more towards the park and jumping and freestyle and the rails and all that stuff. And this leans a little more to, I guess, the free ride in the open mountain. So if being in the park is your thing, then the Horizon might be a good one to demo as well. Let's see. Lee has a YouTube recommendation. If anyone's looking for snowboard vids to pass the time on YouTube, Lemonade has a video called Canada Post Stole My Weed. It's a good vid and not all about weed. Also, absent films in heavy mental. I don't think I've seen any of those. They don't roll through my feeds, but I guess get play on the old hippie stoner snowboard reputation, right? And play it up, get the views. And MC says all he buys are Burton customs. And says, I too need to break away from Burton. Been a Burton fanboy since the 90s. That's me. I have a Process Flying V, which is a great spring condition board. Yeah, I always say I'm a big Burton fanboy from the 90s too. This was my first board. When I first got riding, I spent a season just renting. We had a local skateboard shop that had a bunch of snowboards they would let people rent out. And so I remember renting stuff like Kempers and Sims and canoes, and I'm sure there was something else, but I do remember those ones for sure. And then that summer, the three guys, all three of us that we all rode all together, we all went and bought Burton boards that summer, and never been on one, but it had the reputation. Craig Kelly was the king of snowboarding at the time, and bought one. So yeah, I'm kind of at that point too, where if I buy stuff now, stay away from Burton just because I gotta try different things, right? There's so many good companies, good boards out there. Gotta spread the wings and try it out. Although I have noticed that when it comes to the demo days here, the local shop is a Burton dealer, so there's always a big old tent of Burtons there. So I pop in and try something. They're always comfortable. They're always good, and I get on them and they just feel comfortable, feel at home, like it's like I've been riding them forever. And I don't know if that's just because the stuff they make is just absolute top notch, and I know they make good stuff, or if it's just because I'm so used to it being on these other two boards for so long that it feels like home. But always like them, but yeah, I gotta stay away from them for a little while. And while I'm not in the market for another board at this point, I think if I did get another board, I'd be looking for a bit of a carving specialty anyway. This one handles the free ride stuff and the powder and all that stuff amazingly well. I think I would have to go get something that's a carving specialty. And to add on to the videos, Lisa's whoops, kicking stuff around here. Lisa's Easy Rider from back in the days of their comfort vid. And then Lee is talking to MC there and says, I've consistently had a Burton custom model in the quiver since 97. It's a classic for a reason, so good at everything. And you know what? That's right. That custom's been around forever. It's a big seller, and there's a reason, and things make it and hang out. They're probably not bad, right? People would stop buying them. And I'm sure they've changed a lot over the years. And I know they make camber versions and rocker versions and all kinds of different things now. But yeah, the custom is just a bit of a do everything board. And MC is asking about the profile on the Cadet. Is it a full camber? It's a pretty close to full camber. It's camber back to pretty close to the tail. I think it goes flat. I don't think it goes rocker. I'd have to look it up. It goes flat near the end. And then up top to about here-ish. If I lay it flat, you can kind of see it. It kind of goes flat about here instead of being camber right up to the touch point. It kind of goes flat and then starts to lift. I don't know what all the terms are. I don't think it goes into full rocker, but I think it goes flat or a bit of early rise. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to look it up on the other thing here, my other window, just to see what United Shapes has to say about it. But it is at a bare minimum, it is camber dominant, and it's just got a modern tweak on it. Where do they say? Oh, I thought United Shapes had a little picture of it that showed what it was all about, but I don't see it unless it just needs to load. Whatever, they're right up. They say traditional camber with gentle early rise on the nose. What they say. Anyway, yeah, that's what it's all about. Anyway. There you go, Lee. Yeah, they've changed out of cambers and rockers, but it's still pretty close to your 2007. Okay, so I guess by 07 they dialed it in, and if it ain't broke, don't keep fixing it till it breaks. Stick with it, right? And the way the nose and the tail are curled upward is different. The new ones are more gradual, and the old ones are more curved. So, yeah, I think they're probably doing that with whatever the trends of the day and the style of the day are, right? And as far as making your turns, it's between your edges anyway. That's where all the action happens. It's floating in powder that the nose will just change your powder flow basically a little bit here and there. And MC asked, does it have edges that are turned up in the nose and the tail? Oh, spoon nose or 3D tech, or I think every brand has their own version of that. And no, this is straight up all the way. There's no spooning or 3D edge or anything in it. It is the base is flat as flat can be. They're just relying on the early rise to make your turning in initiating turns a little bit easier, but nothing fancy like 3D shaping, no. And Steve, always Burton boots and pants and base layers, but only one board. Meaning you've only ever had one board in all the years? Or just one board at a time? Or you've ridden one Burton board, but lots of other boards. There you go. Takes me a minute. Sometimes the old brain needs to kick into gear and get out of neutral. That makes more sense. K2 boards. You know what? K2s look pretty interesting. I don't think I've ever tried one. But they do. I'm trying to think. There's one that was making the rounds on a lot of the review channels last year that everyone seemed to like, but I can't remember off the top of my head. And K2's been around long enough. They know what they're doing. And even when they were new, they came out of the ski world. So, they knew how to make gear. They knew how to make, flex patterns and side cuts and everything else. So I think transitioning to snowboards probably wasn't that hard for them. And I've seen a little bit. There's a ski company called Armada. I've seen a bunch of videos of people talking about how Armada is making snowboards. And some people are stoked about it. Some people are just pissing and moaning about it. And I don't know Armada from nothing. But I tend to think if they're already in the ski industry, they know how to make gear, right? They know how to make a base, the glides, they know how to do edges, they know how to do all of the things. So I think it's probably fairly trivial to make a snowboard that's good and then to make it at scale. I think it's probably a good thing. And then you get some economies of scale, right? They've already got factories, they've already got equipment and people and knowledge. I think it'll let them come in and do their thing. And I think K2 was the same. People were complaining back when they started. Solomon as well. What are these ski companies doing with snowboards? But I think it's a good thing. It's you're coming in with a lot of knowledge and experience, and you can hit the ground running really, really well. And Lee is asking, has anyone ridden a spoon-shaped board? He hasn't, but he's curious. And yeah, I don't think I have, unless one of the demos I have ridden was kind of spooned or 3D shaped. I didn't know it. I don't think I have. Yeah. K2's been making boards since the late 80s or so. Yeah, I remember them way back. And I just remember them as one of the, again, just people pissing and moaning for the sake of pissing and moaning. But why is a ski company making a snowboard? But hey, look at the list of snowboard companies from the early 90s and all the ones that are still around now. Not very many of them are still around now. So K2 must have been doing something right. Libtech used to make skis. Did they used to make skis? I didn't know that. I've always just known them as a snowboarding company. And then I was kind of away from snowboarding for a long time too. Kind of watched it from the sidelines. Didn't really pay attention because I wasn't getting on the slopes, and I wasn't able to get on the slopes for a little while. So that made me not even want to pay attention to boards. I stopped going to board shops for a while. Why am I going to look at all this stuff that I can't use? And just made me sad. So kind of got off to the sidelines of the snowboarding area for a little while. Lee says K2 was also one of the first to try step-on snowboard bindings because of their link to the cycling world and yeah, the clipless pedals that clip in. I've never I know about it. I've read about it. Why they pick the word clipless just drives me. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I know why they did it, and I know what it isn't, but you're still clipping in. I don't care what anyone says. It's funny. I've always just been a mountain biker when I was younger, growing up. No racing, no organized, no nothing. Just on a mountain bike, just cruising around the slopes and riding the trails. And I got a bike spring of late 90s anyways. In the spring, I went and got a bike. I bought a Norco bike, and it had those clips on the pedals, right? Pedals here, and it had the strap went over your toes and the something like that, and I clipped in. Oh, it was the coolest thing, and whatever. I'd never been on one before. Went for a bike ride, and that was my first or second day on the bike. Went for a ride around near the Glenmore Reservoir in Calgary. There's some trails down there, somewhere down in that area. Went for a little rip on the bike, and I piled into a rocky area. Front stop. It started to go over, and I remember it was like in slow motion in my head. I tried to jump off because I would just, throw the feet out, jump, and the feet were stuck in these clips. And I remember like pulling on my feet like 3 or 4 times as I'm going over. Feet wouldn't come out. I just didn't have the motion. Couldn't get my feet off the pedals. Straight over, piled into the rocks or the bushes or whatever it is that I was on. It's a big tear in the back of my seat on the bike. Still have the bike here, by the way. It's collecting dust out in the shed. I guess I tend to keep my gear for a long time, but I still have the bike, still ride it. Still got that big tear in the back seats. Every time I pull it off and I see that big tear, I remember one time went home, tore the clips off, never put them back, never will. That's my one and only experience with clips. And MC says all brands are making good boards these days. So many different types to choose from. And you're guilty of still riding your 2001 custom. Well, you know what? That's when I got back into snowboarding regularly a couple of years ago, I got on the floater, and that's 2003, 2004. Can't remember which year I bought it. 03 or 04, I bought it. And I believe it was the previous model's year. I got a screaming deal on it. So that's how old that sucker is. So that's what got me into it, and still was riding it. Wasn't planning on buying a new board. I went that season. Still rode that season on that board. So yeah, I get you. Hold on to the equipment. If it works, it's good. Keep using it. And Lee says the K2 step-on bindings was back in the late 90s. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with them at the time. I don't remember being familiar with them at the time, but I have looked them up and read about them when I made the move onto the Burton step-ons here. And it's interesting to see some of the old school stuff and what they were trying back then, and in some ways how it's different from what they do now and how it's the same. Yeah, the K2 clickers. And Lee says it's crazy how the old tech from the 90s was tried, abandoned, and then come back again. Yeah. Well, and yeah, sometimes it comes back. It's literally, almost exactly the same thing. Sometimes it's, 90% different, but they name it the same for the recognition. And sometimes it's just dialed in better, and the tolerances are better. One thing I've seen when people talk about their old, step-ins is that there was always that loosey-goosey feel. And I think the clickers hit in the middle of the boot makes sense if they're coming from the cycling world. So the whole boot's kind of moved around, and you're kind of on that pivot point there. And I think the new stuff is just locked in a lot more. And maybe that's just the refinement that it needs. And sometimes you get an idea that's just ahead of its time and people aren't ready for it, right? And it stews around in everyone's head. We get used to it, and then it comes back, and it's kind of old hat, so it gets better traction the second time around. But hey, what do I know? And Lee wrote a 96 custom for a decade, and then a 2007 custom. And holy cow, it had so much. Yeah, well, I think the tech had come a long way, right? Like I went from this guy 91 to the floater 03, 04, whatever it was. And I remember thinking it was wild how much it had changed. And that's a beast of a board. It's just a big wide sucker. long 164, big long one. But I remember what blew me away was the whole directional twin aspect. The front nose just kind of, whoops, it just kind of, I'll say spoons out. It wasn't spoony, but it just, the way it comes out like that, where compared to the old stuff, which is just almost straight up and down. And then the fact that the tail did kind of the same, I just thought it was the coolest thing. Like, hey, I could go ride fakie and have a bit of a nose back there instead of, the little square tail. So yeah, I'm feeling you. I noticed the same thing after riding one board for a decade, how much it changed. And then yeah, I mean, it came a long way in the 90s. Lots of people got involved. Lots of tech was tried and tested. Lots of changes during that time. Steve had the first generation clicker bindings. They rode great, but getting in was harder than it should have been. Yeah, never tried them. I think they just need to dial them in, right? Just over time, you just get better at doing things. Your tolerances get better, and I think that as machining gets better. Like for example, if you've got the clicker on the binding and the thing on the boot, if each one has a, let's just say 3% variance that's acceptable as good, then if you get the right combination of binding and boot, you could have a 6% variance. Like that's a lot of shaking and moving around. And even if you're allowed for a 1% variance, if you get the right combination and the variance is going the other directions, you could have a 2% difference. Other times it could be locked in 100%. So I guess the machining and the equipment and factories get better and better. Those things get more and more consistent across the board, not just step-ons and clickers, but across the board. Things just get tighter and tighter, right? And Lee says, yeah, new stuff is more refined and too much change too fast. And in early snowboarding and skateboard can get a lot of pushback. Yeah. Well, I remember there was pushback. Well, not pushback, but there was a differences even when the whole skateboarding vibe really took over snowboarding. And I did skateboard back in the day a little bit. Not really. I mean, I used to throw the skateboard in the back of the car, drive around skateboard places and drive away. So I wasn't a skateboarder by any stretch, but I did ride a skateboard. But I remember the first guys I saw up at the hill that were a couple of years younger than me, and they were riding out and doing the whole the street scene of snowboarding. That they were all about that. I just remember thinking how different that was. I didn't come from either the skateboarding scene or the skiing scene. I just kind of popped into the snowboarding scene. So definitely some differences over the years. Yeah. And Steve says you ride one board long enough and it will noodle out. Oh yeah, everything loses its snap and everything else. But sometimes it just gets more comfortable too. And even if it has softened up and lost its camber, and I noticed this thing, if I set it flat on a big old table, there's almost nothing here. I mean, you're only seeing camber here because it's got a bit of a lean. If I put it on a flat table, there's practically nothing. It's lost all its camber, partially from riding it for 12 years, whatever it was. 12, didn't ride it much the last couple of years, but 12 years or so. And then it spent years as I moved around over the last couple of decades. It leaned against the wall kind of like this. So gravity probably forced it to lose a bit of camber. That'd still be interesting to take it for a rip one day. And if we get some binding adapters and whatever else, I think it might be good. Go out in the spring, give it a little rip just for old time's sakes. But I think even though it's softened up, it just feels comfortable and kind of like boots, right? Boots, they lose all their stiffness and support, but they're so comfortable. They feel so good that while they may have lost a little bit of features and performance, the comfort level comes up. So that's not a real loss per se. And MC says they are excited about the phase bindings. And you think the tech is going to replace traditional strap-on binding? Yeah, I really like the looks of the phase. And I rebel against sitting on the butt try to figure out how to do it standing up. That was one thing that got me when I got back into riding. I really struggled. I still don't have the flexibility in my back and my shoulders. I was really struggling to get down there, and I was refusing to sit down in the snow. I just wasn't going to do it. So I was really struggling to get strapped in. Knock a little ledge in the snow. Give yourself a flat spot. Stay standing up. But I noticed when I was at Lake Louise last week, there's a bit of you're essentially dropping a cat track there and coming across. And there's 15, 20, 30 people, snowboarders, almost every one of them sitting on the snow, strapping in. There's a few guys or gals, I don't know, staying standing up, strapping in, but almost everybody was sitting down in the snow. I noticed it kind of on the hill, but I noticed it when I was editing the video. Because I took footage of 3 or 4 runs down there just to see what I would get. And every time I'd go down that bit and I'd be passing people, and I noticed everybody's all sitting on their rear end. I hated that. Hated it. But yeah, I think FaZe is going to get some market. I think they're going to get some market share because they spread it out, and there's already, I want to say 3 or 4 companies doing them. So I think that's going to help spread it out. Works with any old boot, another big plus. And everybody that's tried it that I've seen videos from says that once you're riding it, it's just a 2-strap binding. So I think that's going to go a long way. It just opens up and stays open so you can get in and out quick. But it's a 2-strap binding. There's really, other than the fact that the high back kicks back and the things stay connected, it's not really much different there. So I think that's going to be easier for a lot of people. Even the Supermatics, there's just a lot going on. And it's kind of the same thing, but there's just a lot going on. And I'd love to try both the Supermatics and the FaZe, to be fair. But yeah, there's just a lot going on, and I've heard they're heavy compared to the FaZe. So I think I think FaZe is going to get some market share because of that. I also think some of the, Supermatics might figure a way to slim down and lose some weight, and because they have competition with regular old boots, right? Quick entry. And I think that's going to be their angle too. They're going to play quick entry rather than step in. And if someone plays that game, I think that'll get over that mental block that people have because they just rebel against step in and step ons. If it's just quick entry 2-strap, that's a different thing to accept. So yeah, I agree. I think they're going to do quite well, and they look really interesting. And Steve says the problem with the old clickers was snow packing in. Yeah, and I think I've heard that before, and that kind of makes sense too. If you're thinking, if it comes from the biking world, and it's I've seen pictures of them, but yeah, if it's the bottom of your boot has got a gap in there with a metal hook essentially, then yeah, I mean things are going to fill up with snow and stuff like that. So it's definitely a downside. But there's only one way companies find out, right? You have to build it, test it, try it. That's how things get found out. And the high belt built into the boot was uncomfortable. I didn't know they were doing that. So that would be kind of weird. Yeah, I didn't know they were doing the high back in the boot. And MC says, speaking of noodling out, you took out your 93 Air for a ride a couple of years ago, and the nose was flopping around like a fish. Yeah, I can see it. It's 93. So was it kind of like this? Were they still doing these weird spray graphics, or had they gone on to the next one? I can't remember exactly what they were. I think they went more neon and stuff for a little while. But yeah, I can imagine you ride that thing for long enough. And I'm sure this thing would be a cross between a wet noodle and a piece of plywood. Now I'm used to the new tech. And I see, I've seen videos of guys going out and they do like a retro day or a retro challenge or something like that. And they throw guys some old boards, Burton, Sims, Barfoots, whatever it is. Tell these guys, hey, go ride it. And you're here, throw on this neon jacket and go ride the old board. And they almost always come back and say it feels like they're riding a piece of plywood. So I think that would be, if I did take this thing out, it would feel like a cross between being noodled out and floppy and feeling like a piece of plywood because it wouldn't just wouldn't perform the way the new stuff performs. But kind of jealous. You got your 93 out. I don't have bindings for this anymore, so unless I were to find a set of bindings, I don't know that I would trust those old bindings without having them explode because they kind of have that reputation. But to be fair, I wouldn't be pushing it very hard. I would just go out and cruise a groomer in it anyway, so I'd probably be okay. But maybe if I find an old set of Burton bindings somewhere to garage sale or secondhand shop or something, I might snap them up. But odds are this thing will never see snow again. It's just probably the way it's going to be, but it would be interesting. Retro days in the spring slush on a sunny day. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? Blue sky, sun. Wouldn't put on a neon jacket. Don't have one anymore, but just go out and take it for a rip would be. I think it would just be fun. Just go for a run down the main groomer. Take it easy. Make some turns. I'd be real. I mean, thing hasn't seen a coat of wax in 25 years. So I don't know that you could, even if I did wax up, I don't think it would be good, but it's got some, got a little bit of damage on it. It's got this, I don't know if you can see it. Oh yeah, you can see it. This guy, big, long, scrapey core shot there. So I would hate to do something that tears that open and ruins it more. Although I did do that a couple of years before I stopped riding this. Like I said, I wasn't riding a ton in those last couple of years, but all that damage was there for at least a couple of years. Didn't cause me any dribbles back then, but I would hate to get out there and do something, have some water, get in there and freeze and split it apart, and just on principle, I would hate to see that happen, but hey, whatever. Could be good. And if it's warm enough on a spring day, it shouldn't freeze up, right? So have any of you guys ever gone and participated in the spring splash? They do one here at Kimberley. They literally call it the spring splash and jump into the pond, and when you bail out, guys jump in and rescue you and all that stuff. Has anyone ever done that? I've never done it. Probably never will at this point. I just don't like the idea of getting tossed in there, and crashing is almost guaranteed. So I didn't do it when I was younger, so I probably never will. But have any of you guys ever done that? And if so, was it as fun as it looks? Or was it just gnarly and did it throw your back out? That's what happened to me. Slam me in there, big old belly flop in the water, and I'd throw my back out probably. MC is asking, what's the worst board I've ever written? Him, it was the GNU Billy Goat. It was way too advanced for me. The thing threw him off and he retired early from snowboarding for a bit. Okay, well, that just, even the way you phrase it made me question whether or not the board itself was actually bad or if it was just the wrong board. Because I just kind of believe those are two different things, right? Bad board for you, but not necessarily a bad board. And something I meant to say earlier, one of you guys mentioned something about so many companies making good boards. A thought that occurred to me that I forgot was one thing nowadays with so many options, everybody's making good stuff. It's tough to find a bad board. but it can also be twice as tough to find that perfect board for you, right? So many things, so many little details can make it different. But there's lots of good ones and lots of great ones. There's just so many options to dial it in. You never know. Um, what's the worst board I've ever written? Well, I'm going to say from a technical perspective, I have to go with my Black Snow Legend. If you've ever seen those, it's basically just a little black piece of fiberglass, like a toboggan. That was the first thing I bought. That's what got me into snowboarding. So it might also be the best one because it's what got me into snowboarding. I still remember, I don't remember why I wanted to get one. I still don't know exactly what inspired me to get a snowboard because I wasn't a skier. I was half-ass a skateboarder, but not really. And I remember just saying something to my parents one year going into Christmas that I was going to buy a snowboard. So if they wanted any Christmas presents, just, cash for a snowboard. That's what I was going to do. So they gave me some cash for the snowboard. I had some cash. I remember I literally went to Kmart and bought the Black Snow Legend SE. Had a steel edge. I got the fancy one. And I went and did that on Boxing Day. So it was some kind of sale. And one of the two guys I rode with all the time, he really liked the idea, and he did the same thing. He bought a different one. I don't remember what it was. I remember he bought a different Black Snow, I think it was. We both went out and bought bought those Black Snows. Had our winter boots in the back of the car, and I was just driving a little car. And we bought them from Kmart. We drove out to the edge of town, just outside the edge of town, and there's a little hill where the power lines go up. And we, hiked up there, 100 feet, turned around, strapped in, and we looked at each other and goes, "What the heck do we do now?" And we just figured we would try to slide down the hill on these snowboards, and that's how we got going. So, yeah, technically speaking, Black Snow was the worst one I ever rode, but best board because that's what got me hooked, right? That's what we did. And that first little bit, we drove out to that spot. We rode there. We built little jumps there, like little little jumps, and that's how we learned. And then we started renting and going to the hill. And when we didn't have the money to do that, because we didn't have the money to do that very much, we would go back up on our Black Snow. So that first year, that's what we were doing. So, I remember riding an old Gnu. I loved the Gnu, and it was big. It was a hot pink thing that had big circles on it, black circles all over it. I just remember getting that from the rental shop. If they had it, I would grab it. I don't think I'd say a worst board because I didn't really ride a lot of different boards, right? I rode this thing for a decade, 12 years straight. I think I was someplace that was doing a demo day once. And I jumped on one or two boards, but I just felt awkward doing that at the time and whatever. So I just basically rode my board, and even us friends, we didn't really swap boards much. We just rode around boards. So I haven't ridden very many up until the last few demo days that I did here. And I've got videos of those. You can see all the boards I've ridden. And out of those, I wouldn't say any of them are bad. Some don't suit me, but I don't think any of them were bad. And let's see, I'm losing time on the chat here, but Lee says he was a spectator Canada Day slush at Sunshine. Canada Day. That's pretty wild. But did not do a pond skim other than skiing through natural puddles. Yeah, I'm sure I skimmed through a little bit of a slushy puddle here and there. Canada Day at Sunshine. That is wild. One year we went out to Sunshine. I want to say it was around May 15th, near the end. I think they were getting ready to shut down pretty soon after that. But we went out there May 15th one year and just got literally sunburned. Just raccoon eyes, goggles stayed good and just sunburn. But I mean, I get a sunburn walking past a window. So Canada Day, that's gnarly. And then he says, MC, ouch, getting on the wrong board for the rider can mess up both your physical game and your mental confidence. Yeah, finding the right board for the right rider. It's all about that. And then Lee's first and worst snowboard was a skateboard where you took the trucks off. You know what? I love it. And on a toboggan hill, no less. I love the idea, and I'm almost surprised that we didn't do that, because like we had a couple skateboards around, and we weren't skateboarders, so we weren't protecting our equipment. But I do remember one of my friend's brothers was quite into skateboarding, so I'm sure he had a few skateboards around. I'm almost surprised we didn't do something like that, but that would have been fun. Yeah. Tie yourself to a skateboard. I love it. And then MC says the profile threw him off. And it was performance camber / banana. Yeah. And he had never ridden anything but Burton camber before it. So, well, yeah, it's all about what you know and getting the right stuff. Steve says his first board was a early 90s barfoot that he won in a raffle, but it was crap. Warp base, wrong size top sheet, everything. Okay, I remember. I'm pretty sure at that rental shop there was a barfoot that I used to grab once in a while too. I'm positive, because I remember when we were talking about buying boards, for a little while I was adamant I wanted to get a barfoot, so I must have ridden one at some point, but I don't really remember. But yeah, warp base, wrong top sheet. Back in the day, I mean, everything was a bit wonky, right? So. And Lee has been lucky and hasn't had a bad snowboard. First one was 94 on Nitro Hazard. And then Burton's. Yeah, Burton's were everywhere. And they were the kings. Actually, it's funny because I remember the three of us used to go up. I had this. My one friend had the Craig Kelly, the yellow and orange, the ketchup and mustard one. And my other friend had the purple and black one from the following year. So the three of us had those boards, and would always catch people's eyes, especially the two Craig Kellys more than this guy. They were like the coolest thing, right? People constantly, oh my God, those are amazing. Always catching comments and things like that. And then we rode them for so long, it's just become, oh yeah, they're just whatever. There's old boards. Everyone was into the newest, the latest and greatest. And then I remember when I was living in Calgary in the late 90s, we went out to, it was either Lake Louise or Sunshine with the one buddy and his ketchup and mustard, Craig Kelly. We were still riding those things, and they were getting pretty close to a decade old. And I remember we were pulled in and to a lift line getting ready, and someone came up and was like, holy cow, those are the coolest retro boards ever type of thing. And it just kind of stuck with me. Like, we had those things for so long. Like, they started as the coolest, latest, and greatest. Then they turned into meh. And then they became the coolest, oldest retro, all of that same run. And that's the only thing we rode the whole time. So anyway, yeah, I think that's, it was mostly because of the Craig Kelly more than this thing, I think. But yeah, riding those same things forever. I love it. MC's favorite board was the Burton Cascade. Yeah, I don't remember that one, but there was a lot. There was a lot there. Like I said, when I stepped away from snowboarding for a little bit, I didn't catch my eye. And even when I was into snowboarding all the time in the late 90s, unless I was buying a board, I don't think I was paying too much attention to every model, every company, everything. And I'm kind of like that in a lot of ways. I'm like that with tech now too, because I'm a very techie type person. I know as much about tech as most everybody I know. Anybody, not more than everybody, but I'm very techie, always have been. And people would ask me questions about something, and I was like, I don't know anything about that. It's like, the latest and greatest, and they're out to do it. And I was like, unless I need it, if I'm buying it or programming it or doing something with it, I didn't want to spend the energy to know it, learn it, and hold it for just a change before I did anything with it anyway. I think I did that for a little while. And I'm like that with, I think, snowboards too, and tech stuff and cars. I was a car guy for a long time. And as much as it's cool to know and learn everything about everything, it gets to a point where unless I'm going to use it, I just let it wash right over me. So yeah, I don't remember the Burton Cascade specifically. But hey, stoked that Burton is one of your tops. That's always good. Good in my books, anyway. And then Lee says you want the Noah Salinak skate graphic. And I think that's, if I'm remembering, it's got like a bright orange top sheet, and the bottom looks like the bottom of a skateboard with the trucks and all that stuff. I think that's the one you're talking about. And there was a series of Sims boards that crazy psychedelic mushrooms and fairies on them. Oh, not Sims, just a series of snowboards. Okay. And MC asks if Sims is still making snowboards. I don't think they are. I think the closest thing is somebody has bought the naming rights and to the IP and all that stuff. I think kind of like Kemper. If you remember that Kemper back in the day. Kemper was another one. I was going to buy a Kemper before I bought this. It was like the, what did they have? I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, some kind of Kemper snowboard. That was near the top of my list. And they disappeared for a long time, and they came back a couple of years ago. I remember seeing a picture of one, and it had the 4x2 inserts, and I remember thinking, what the heck is going on? Like, there's no way they should have. And I looked it up, and it was a reissue from whoever, and it turned out they had bought all the trademarks and IP and everything else. So they just had they're essentially just a generic modern-ish board, and they threw Kemper graphics all over it to make it look retro and feel retro. But other than that, really had no connection to the old Kemper. I think Sims is in the same boat. If I remember reading correctly, that somebody has the rights to that stuff, and if it comes back, it's probably not going to have any relationship to the old Sims stuff. Sims did the reissue. Maybe that's why I'm thinking of Sims did that Noah reissue. Yeah. Oh, and then went out of business. So yeah, whoever owns all the IP to Sims would probably want to move that, or if they lost it in a bankruptcy, somebody probably picked it up, and one of these days somebody will come back with some Sims reissues and whatever. But yeah, it won't have anything to do with the old stuff, other than they'll probably make it look like the old stuff, but it won't actually be the old stuff. So. And From the Blues, I think that's your first time in the chat. From the Blues, welcome to the chat. You love your arbor board. Yeah, I've seen online reviews of arbors. Never touched one. Never put hands on one. I don't think I've even seen one in a shop. And Palmer Boards was another one that made great boards. I presume that was Sean Palmer. He was big back in the day. He probably made some boards. And From the Blues, first board was a winter stick. Those winter sticks are cool. Like, I just like the swallowtail, the taper, the big the nose that just goes out like that. I just think they look cool. And actually, another good channel, if you guys watch, or if you don't watch, you should watch the Riders Lounge. There's some guys from Tribute Board Shop over in Nelson, just over the hill here. But look up Riders Lounge and the stuff they sell. They did an interview with the guy who owns Winterstick now. And I believe, if I remember his interview correctly, same type of thing. He acquired acquired the whole darn company, or just the naming rights and designs and tech specs and everything else. But they're making new winter sticks with the flavor of the old winter stick. So basically trying to make a modern version of the winter stick. Like if you were a car guy, it would be a retro mod type of thing. And she looked really interesting. So if you're into winter sticks, check out the Riders Lounge video. I want to say from the last couple of months. But yeah, check that out. And even if you're not, check out the Riders Lounge. That's a good channel. There's tons of good stuff. They've been around forever. They know lots of people in the industry. And one of the guys, one of the main guys on the channel is a retired pro snowboarder, Olympic level, all that good stuff. Yeah, and they know their stuff, and it's just entertaining and nice and interesting too. So good, another good channel to watch. Lee says he's heard good things about Arbor, but hasn't tried one, and asking how they ride. From the Blues, oh, the winter stick with a bungee cord. Yeah, I don't think the new winter sticks have bungee cords. But anyway, yeah. Blast from the past. Sean Palmer was pro everything. Skiing, snowboarding, mountain biking, and definitely motocross. I can tell you that. He was motocross. He was a monster. He was probably sponsored by Monster at some point. Yeah, he was just into everything. If it was an extreme sport, he made a run at it, and he did really well. And yeah, just a real interesting guy. I don't know much about him, but yeah, he was into everything. And Lee watches the Riders Lounge. And yeah, Tribute Board Shop. Yeah, that's right. They're in Nelson. So yeah, it's a good channel. Lots of good stuff they do. They go on the local hills and slopes. They do a little bit of backcountry stuff. There's lots of gear reviews, and they have the whole shop upstairs. So they have all the gear to talk about. It's interesting. They're interesting guys to watch. I've been watching their stuff for a couple of years now. And they're starting to get more and more other professionals from the industry that they know. There's good interviews. There's bound to be stuff that catches your eye on that channel. It's a good channel for sure. Well, we've been going at this for about an hour and a half, guys. And we got 5 guys in here. I'm not sure everybody's in here. I don't see a list of actual people. But I know, Lee, you got in here pretty close to the beginning. And if Steve is still in here, he was here pretty close to the beginning too. It's been a good long run. I'm probably going to wrap this up here pretty soon. I'm going to a thing or two to do before I go up and make dinner and when all the family comes home. So yeah, it's loving the chat. Keep it going here for a little bit. I'm probably going to wrap it up here pretty soon. MC Boogs, and you know what, MC Boogs, you've been here for a while too. I don't know when you got into the chat here, but I remember seeing you quite a while ago. You've been here for a long time. So thanks everybody for coming out to the chat. It's good. I like just sitting here chatting about snowboarding and stuff. It's good to see people show up. Is just an old guy with a small little snowboard channel and stuff. It's good to see people show up and chit chat and do things. So MC Boogs, you demoed an Arbor Iguchi Pro, which was amazing, but it rode too much like a custom. So it was too much like another board that you either had or didn't like. I'm losing track of who had what. But yeah, if you're in the line for another board, you'd hate to buy a board that's essentially the same as the board you got. It seems like kind of a waste. So, excuse me. And let's face it, the Burton Customs probably have a lot of people tearing those things apart, trying to imitate them and get the same kind of feel without infringing on whatever trademarks exist. So yeah, there's probably a lot of people trying to get as close to a custom as they can without being close enough to infringe. And from the Blues, the Arbor that he had, I keep saying he, I don't know if it's he or she, but from the Blues, the Arbor they have is the KOA wood, and it rides nice. You've had countless boards, Sims and Left and Burton and Ride. Morrow, I remember Morrow. Morrow had some good boards in the 90s, one called the Spoon. I think the Morrow Spoon was, I think it was one of the first ones I ever saw that had the spoon nose and shaping. And I don't know if it was the first one, but I think it was one of the first ones that I ever saw. So yeah, they had some good stuff. I don't know how big they got, but yeah, they were pretty big and around for a while. And you're a he. Yeah, sorry. I said that to a few different people. I started reading comments and I say he, just a reflex, but it's all good. It's all good either way. The KOA top sheet Arbor used did something to the ride. I found the KOA wood reduce chatter and improve dampening. I've heard people talk about the wood top sheets dampening things out compared to the fiberglass ones or whatever they're made out of. And I rode the Kazoo last year, Capita Kazoo, and it had that wood grain top sheet. I mean, it was cool. It had good edge hold and everything else. It was kind of funky looking, but it was definitely damp. Didn't connect at the time to being the top sheet, but I've heard people talking about wooden top sheets and how they make things more damp. And something else from Capita that has had one of those wooden top sheets switched it out this year, and they're not using it. And that's one of the things I heard reviewers say is it is now less damp because of that. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, whether you want it. Less damp, more responsive, everything else. There's always pros and cons, right? So anyway, yeah, I heard wood top sheets definitely do that, make things more damper and smoother. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. This is it's been a great chat. Lovely to have you around. Thanks for coming around. I'm going to try to do these things more regularly. Don't know if I keep thinking to myself, I'm going to get on a weekly cadence. I don't know how soon I'll be able to get on a weekly cadence or if I'll be able to keep up, but I'm going to try to do these every week or two. So hopefully we see you all around again. And I saw that one last comment roll in about step-in bindings. Yeah, love the step-ins. I might go to something else with a lot of other step-ins like phases and supermatics, but step-ins are good. They're my jam. I'll be on them for a while now. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for coming. Thanks for chatting. Have a good rest of your day.